The shuttle doors slid open, and Evan Cole stepped onto the landing platform of the Galactic Exchange Academy. The air smelled different, sharp and metallic, because the atmosphere was filtered for dozens of species. Around him, alien cadets walked in groups. Some were tall, some had scales, some glowed faintly. Many of them looked strong and confident. Evan felt very small in comparison. Evan was a human, and humans were still new to the galactic community. Most species saw humans as weak, soft, and emotionally unstable. Evan knew that. He kept his head down, carrying only a small backpack. He was here to learn, nothing more. On his first day, the academy held a welcome event. The large hall was filled with lights and strange music. Cadets showed off their cultural items: hollow crystals, plasma blades, glowing feathers, mechanical pets. Evan stood quietly near a wall, holding a small wooden box from Earth. Inside it was a toy he had made during the flight, a simple wooden bird with movable wings. It was nothing special, just something to keep his hands busy. Across the room, a group of cadets whispered and pointed at someone. Evan followed their eyes and saw her. A small alien girl stood alone in a corner. Her skin was pale blue, with faint silver lines that glowed softly. Her large, dark eyes stared at the floor. She looked young, maybe 10 or 11 in human years. She wore a dark uniform with a symbol on the chest, a sharp silver V shape. Evan recognized it immediately. She was Varani. The Varani were known throughout the galaxy as the most feared warriors. They fought without fear, lived by honor, and almost never smiled. Even adult Varani caused entire rooms to fall silent. But this little girl wasn't scary. She looked lonely, completely, painfully lonely. Cadets stayed away from her. Some were scared. Some simply didn't know how to act around her kind. Evan watched her for a moment. She didn't speak to anyone. She didn't touch the food or the displays. She looked like she wished she could disappear. Evan felt something stir inside him. He knew that feeling. Back on Earth, he had often been the quiet kid in the corner. He understood what it meant to feel alone in a crowded place. So he took a deep breath, walked toward her, and ignored the shocked looks from the other cadets. The little girl noticed him approaching. Her back straightened, and she lifted her chin the way Varani warriors did. But her eyes still showed worry. "Hi," Evan said softly. "I'm Evan." She didn't reply. She only blinked. Evan gently opened the wooden box and lifted the toy bird. The wings flapped when he moved the tail. "I made this on the way here," he said. "You can have it if you want." The girl stared at the toy with wide eyes. Slowly, she reached out and touched it with trembling fingers. Her breathing changed. She held the toy close to her chest like it was something precious. "My name is Lyra," she whispered, her voice thin but clear. A few cadets gasped behind them. Someone whispered, "Is he insane?" Another said, "Varani don't accept gifts. It's dangerous." Evan didn't understand why they reacted that way. Lyra looked happy now, still shy but happy. Then everything changed. A loud alarm suddenly rang through the hall. Red lights flashed in every direction. Cadets panicked and ran to the exits. Instructors shouted orders. A deep, rumbling sound came from above the academy. A ship was descending. A huge Varani warship. Evan felt the floor vibrate under his feet. Lyra's silver lines glowed brighter. She whispered one word in her language, a word Evan didn't understand, but he could feel the emotion in it. Honor. The doors of the ship opened, and 500 fully armored Varani warriors marched out. They moved as one, their steps shaking the ground. They approached the hall, stopped in a perfect formation, and then they knelt. All 500 warriors knelt before Evan. The hall went silent. Lyra stepped forward, clutching the wooden toy. She looked up at Evan with awe and said, "You have given me a token of peace, and now they are bound to you." Evan had no idea what she meant, but the galaxy was about to find out. The entire hall froze as the 500 armored Varani warriors knelt on one knee. Their heavy armor clanked together, echoing across the room like rolling thunder. Evan felt his heart pounding. He didn't understand what was happening. He didn't know why they were kneeling. He only knew everyone was staring at him like he had done something impossible or dangerous. The lead warrior stepped forward. He was massive, almost 3 meters tall, with dark armor carved in sharp patterns. His eyes glowed faint silver, the same color as Lyra's markings. He placed one fist to the ground and bowed his head low. "Honor Protector," he said in a deep voice, "we have answered the call." Evan's mouth went dry. The call? What call? I didn't call anyone. Murmurs spread across the hall. Cadets backed away, some tripping over their own feet, a few at behind tables. Even the instructors looked terrified. Vorani warriors weren't supposed to kneel. They didn't bow to anyone, not even their own leaders, unless a sacred ritual demanded it. Lyra walked closer to Evan, holding the wooden toy tightly. Her silver lines glowed like small rivers of light. She spoke softly, but her voice carried the weight of tradition. "You gave me a token of peace," she said, "and I accepted it." The lead warrior nodded. "By ancient law, those who protect the child must protect the giver. We are now bound to you until bond is completed." Evan blinked in confusion. "Bond? What bond?" "I just gave her a toy." The warrior's eyes narrowed. "A toy carved by hand. A symbol of trust. A sign of honor. You offered it freely. The child accepted it. The bond is sealed." Evan felt dizzy. "I didn't mean to start anything." The warrior didn't move. Intent does not change destiny. Behind them, an instructor finally found the courage to speak. "Warrior Commander DeRose, why have you brought an army here? This is a peaceful academy." DeRose lifted his head. "We sense the acceptance of the token. Our duty is to defend the Honor Protector with our lives." Another instructor whispered, "Humans don't do this. He didn't know what it meant." DeRose turned sharply, his armor shifting like stone plates. Ignorance does not break a sacred vow. Evan felt trapped. He looked at Lyra. She looked nervous, but her eyes were filled with something else too. Hope, like the kindness he showed was the first real kindness she had ever received. "Lyra, did you know this would happen?" Evan asked gently. She shook her head quickly. "No, I didn't know, but I didn't want to give it back." She lowered her head. "It is the first gift anyone has ever given me." Something in Evan's chest softened. He understood her loneliness even more now. But the situation outside the hall was growing worse. Sirens blared. Security drones hovered overhead. The academy's shield barriers activated with a blue flash. The headmaster, a tall green-skinned alien, entered the hall, looking pale. "What is the meaning of this?" The headmaster shouted. "You brought a war party into a school." DeRose stood slowly. "This is not war. This is honor." The headmaster pointed at Evan. "You cannot place this human student at the center of a galactic crisis." Theros's voice turned cold. "We do not ask permission." Evan raised his hand. "Try to calm everyone down. Please. I didn't want any trouble. I was just trying to be nice." "That is exactly the problem," another alien instructor muttered. "Humans don't understand how their actions affect others." More warriors arrived from the ship, carrying crates of supplies and heavy weapons. The sight made everyone panic more. The Academy's communication network overloaded as students tried to message their families. Then came the moment that changed everything. DeRose turned to Evan again. "Honor Protector, we must know your wish." "My wish?" Evan repeated, confused. "Yes." DeRose lowered his head. "Do you command us to stay with you? To defend you? To strike your enemies? Say the word and we obey." Evan stepped back. "I don't want anyone fighting for me. I don't even have enemies." The other cadets stared at him, shocked that a human could be so calm in front of a towering warrior commander. Most species would faint under the pressure. Lyra tugged lightly on Evan's sleeve. "You don't need to command them," she whispered. "Just don't reject them." "Reject them?" Evan asked. Lyra nodded. "If you reject the bond, it will shame them. All of them. Forever." She looked up with trembling eyes. "Please don't." Evan felt a knot in his throat. He didn't want to shame anyone. He just wanted peace. He turned back to DeRose. "Then I accept your protection. But I don't want violence. I don't want a war. I just want to understand." The roast lifted his head slowly. His voice rumbled with respect. Your wish is our command. And just like that, the entire academy changed. Overnight, it became the center of political attention. Alien ambassadors argued in the council. Messages flooded in from every corner of the galaxy. News channels reported that human had somehow gained the loyalty of 500 elite Vorani warriors. Some species called it a miracle. Others called it a threat. Evan had no idea what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was clear. His life and the fate of the galaxy had just changed forever. The next morning, Evan woke up to the strange sound of heavy footsteps outside his room. At first, he thought it was construction or maintenance. But when he stepped outside, he froze. Two Vorani warriors stood at his door like statues, holding long black spears. Their armor shimmered with razor-sharp edges. They looked straight ahead, not moving even an inch when he walked past them. Good morning," Evan said awkwardly. Neither answered. They simply nodded in perfect synchronization. Evan sighed. So this is my life now. As he walked down the hallway toward the academy dining hall, he realized every student was staring at him. Some looked scared. Some looked angry. Others looked impressed. Whispers followed him with every step. That's him, the human they're protecting. He controls 500 warriors. No, he accidentally controls them. He's dangerous. Evan didn't feel dangerous. He just felt hungry and stressed. Inside the dining hall, things grew even more uncomfortable. The moment he entered, dozens of aliens stopped eating. The room went silent. Then, making it worse, a dozen Vorani warriors marched in behind him and took positions along the wall. A few students jumped out of their seats. One dropped his food. Evan quietly grabbed his breakfast tray and sat at a corner table. But before he could take a bite, a small shadow appeared beside him. It was Lyra. She sat down carefully, still holding the small wooden bird. She looked nervous, but also happy to be near him. "I save you a seat," Evan said with a small smile. Her eyes brightened. "You are kind," she whispered. He shrugged. "It's just breakfast." But the truth was heavier, far heavier. Across the room, alien officials entered. The academy leaders, diplomatic instructors, and observers from different governments. They approached Evan's table with serious expressions. Evan put his fork down. "Is something wrong?" A tall, four-armed instructor cleared his throat. "We need to speak privately." Theros, the huge Vorani commander, appeared instantly behind Evan. His presence made even the officials flinch. "If you speak to him," Theros said, "I remain." The officials exchanged nervous looks. There was no arguing with the Vorani commander. "Fine," one said nervously. "Lyra may also stay." Evan frowned. "Lyra? Why her?" "She is the key to everything," another instructor said, "and she must explain what she has done." Lyra lowered her head, embarrassed. Evan leaned closer. "Hey," he whispered. "You didn't do anything wrong." Lyra nodded slowly, but the guilt stayed in her eyes. The head official took a deep breath. "We will get straight to the point. Evan, do you know what a token of peace is?" He shook his head. "No, I only gave her a toy." The roast nodded respectfully. "And that is the heart of the ritual." Another official opened a holographic screen, showing ancient Vorani symbols. "Thousands of years ago," he explained, "the Vorani were almost destroyed in a brutal war. To prevent extinction, their leaders created a sacred law." He pointed to an old image of a Vorani child holding a small carved object. When a child of Vorani receives a handmade gift, one made with effort, it is seen as the highest act of trust. The child is allowed to accept it only if they feel true safety with the giver. Evan stared. "Lyra, you felt safe with me?" Lyra nodded shyly. "You were gentle. You saw me. No one else sees me." He felt a tightness in his chest. She truly had been alone here. The instructor continued. "Once the child accepts the gift, the warriors of her clan must immediately swear protection to the giver. They have no choice." The roast placed a hand on his armored chest. "We serve by honor. We protect what protects our children." Evan rubbed his forehead. "I didn't know. I never meant to start a ritual." I just thought she was lonely. That is why, the rose said, your action carries even more weight. Kindness born from ignorance is still kindness. The officials exchanged uneasy looks. Some nodded with respect. Others seemed worried. One diplomat spoke bluntly. Evan, you must understand the danger. Varani warriors never break a bond. This means they will follow you for life unless the ritual is completed. Evan swallowed hard. How do I complete the ritual? Theros answered. The child must declare the bond fulfilled. Only Lyra can end it. Evan turned to Lyra. You can end it? She looked down, twisting her fingers nervously. I can, but I do not want to. Evan softened his voice. Why? Her eyes glistened. Because if I release you, I will be alone again. Evan felt his heart twist. The room went quiet. One official muttered, We cannot base galactic politics on a child's loneliness. Theros growled, Watch your tone. Tension thickened. Evan knew he had to act. He placed a gentle hand on Lyra's shoulder. You're not alone anymore. I'm your friend. Lyra looked up. Truly. Her markings glowed softly like silver stars. Theros lowered his head. Then the bond stands. The officials had no choice but to accept it. But outside the academy, the news spread far and wide. Alien governments saw an opportunity. Alien enemies saw a threat. And somewhere deep in space, a rival power took notice. The Kroth Dominion, a cruel and cunning empire, intercepted the reports. Their leader watched the news with sharp eyes. A human boy, he whispered, commanding 500 Varani warriors. That is a weapon worth stealing. The Kroth began to move, and Evan had no idea a storm was coming. The academy looked the same on the outside, tall silver towers, glowing paths, clean metal corridors. But inside, everything had changed. Security drones hovered in every hallway. Teachers whispered nervously. Students avoided Evan like he was carrying a bomb. It wasn't fear of Evan himself. It was fear of the Varani warriors who followed him everywhere. By now, the warriors had built a temporary command center in an empty training hall. Heavy crates, weapon racks, and armor stands filled the space. Evan walked past it every day, feeling more out of place each time. But today, something felt different. The air was tense. Warriors whispered quietly. Lyra's silver lines glowed brighter than usual, pulsing with worry. Evan noticed at the moment she approached him during morning break. Evan, she whispered, I need to tell you something. Her voice trembled. She kept glancing around like someone might be listening. Evan bent down to her level. What's wrong? I heard soldiers speaking last night, she said. Strangers, not Varani. They were talking about you. Evan frowned. Strangers? Where? Lyra pointed toward the eastern wing of the academy, near the maintenance tunnels. Evan hesitated. Maybe they were just security guards. She shook her head firmly. They spoke the Kroth language. Evan stiffened. He remembered that word from the news. The Kroth Dominion, a cruel empire known for kidnapping, slavery, and secret operations. They had fought the Varani many times before. What did they say? Evan asked quietly. Lyra swallowed hard. They said they want to take you and force the warriors to serve them. Evan felt a chill run down his back. Before he could respond, Commander Theros appeared from behind a pillar. His heavy footsteps shook the floor. You should not be alone, Theros said. Danger is near. Evan sighed. You heard Lyra? Theros nodded. Yes, and her warning matches what our scouts discovered. He folded his arms. Kroth's signatures were detected near the academy border. Evan blinked. Why would they come after me? I'm not important. Theros lowered his voice. You are now a symbol. Controlling you means controlling us. Some empires would do anything to gain that power. Evan's stomach twisted uncomfortably. He didn't like being a symbol. He didn't want to be a target either. Are they trying to kidnap me? He asked. Theros nodded slowly. Highly likely. Lyra clutched her wooden toy tightly. We won't let them take you, she said softly, determination shining in her eyes. Evan smiled weakly. Thanks, but I'd rather no one has to fight for me at all. Theros responded with the calm certainty of a warrior. Fight is our duty. Your safety is our honor. The words were comforting and terrifying at the same time. Later that afternoon, the Academy's main hall was filled with worried leaders. Diplomats from several species rushed in, arguing loudly. Humans can't handle this power. Move the boy off-world until we secure the area. You want us to anger the Varani? They will burn every council station. Then what do we do? Evan stood in the corner, not wanting to interrupt, but the pressure settled on his shoulders. He didn't ask for any of this. He didn't want to be the reason species fought each other. Finally, an instructor called a meeting to order. Evan Cole, he said firmly, you must not roam alone. You cannot leave secured areas. And you absolutely must not. Boom! The hall shook violently. Lights flickered. Dust fell from the ceiling. Screams filled the air. Another explosion rocked the academy walls. Students ran in panic. Alarms blared. Emergency doors slammed shut. The roast roared. Croft attack. Evan felt his heart jump into his throat. A blast tore open the side of the hall, sending smoke billowing inside. Through the smoke, dark armored figures burst in. Croft agents. Their armor was sleek and segmented, designed for speed and stealth. Their glowing helmets scanned the room. Target located, one of them said, pointing directly at Evan. Evan backed up. Oh no! The Croft moved quickly, firing stun bolts. Instructors dug behind cover. Students screamed, but the Vorani warriors reacted even faster. Theros raised his massive spear and roared a battle command. Protect the Honor Protector. Dozens of Vorani charged like a tidal wave. Their armored boots shook the ground. Their spears glowed with plasma energy. The Croft fired their weapons, but it barely slowed the Vorani. Clash! Crash! Metal against metal. Sparks flew. Screams echoed. Plasma blades slashed through the air. Evan ducked behind a desk as a Vorani warrior blocked a stun bolt aimed at him. The warrior took the hit without flinching. Lyra hid beside Evan, trembling but alert. Don't move, she whispered. Theros leapt into battle, knocking Croft agents aside like they weighed nothing. His voice boomed through the hall. You dare come for our protector? You will regret this. The Croft commander shouted, Take the human! We only need him. But they couldn't get close. The Vorani warriors formed an unbreakable wall around Evan. Still, the Croft were clever. Evan saw something flash in the corner of his eye, a small drone slipping behind a Vorani line, flying silently toward him. It carried a stun injector. Evan, look out! Lyra cried. He turned. Too late. The drone fired. Something sharp hit his neck. His vision blurred instantly. Lyra grabbed his arm. Evan! Evan tried to speak, tried to stay awake, but darkness closed in fast. The last thing he heard was Theros shouting in rage as the battle intensified. Find him. Find the protector. Then everything went silent. The Croft had begun their plan. And Evan was gone. The air around Jace turned cold as the alien warriors stepped back and formed a wide circle. Their boots hit the ground in perfect rhythm. Their armor glowed brighter, shifting from blue to a sharp burning gold. It was a warning color. Everyone could feel it. A straight path opened between the warriors, leading toward the green valley beyond the training ground. Someone important was coming. Yekra tightened her grip on Jace's arm, but said nothing. Her breath shook. Her eyes were wide, almost afraid. Jace noticed, and that alone made his pulse rise. For hours he had seen her brave. During the games, the tests, even when her own soldiers surrounded him. But this time, she looked worried. The heavy silence broke as a long shadow stretched across the ground. A tall alien figure stepped forward. He was not like the armored warriors. His armor was older, darker, and carried long scars across the chest plate. Soft blue fire pulsed on the surface. His eyes glowed silver, calm yet dangerous. Eyes that carried the weight of many battles. Jace didn't know who he was, but every warrior around him dropped to one knee. Yekro whispered, voice tense. The Silent Prince. Jace blinked. That sounds friendly. No, she whispered quickly. It is not. The Silent Prince walked slowly toward Jace, each step sending a soft vibration through the ground. He stopped only a few feet away and studied Jace with an unreadable expression. Not angry, not curious, something in between. Human, the prince said, his voice low and smooth, yet carrying deep power. You gave a young princess a toy. His tone made the simple word sound like a crime. Jace lifted his hands in a polite, harmless way. Yes, just a toy. For fun. Like for kids. A few soldiers gasped softly. Yekara closed her eyes in stress. The prince's head tilted slightly. For kids, he repeated. Jace nodded quickly. Yes, just something small to make her happy. Silence again. The prince walked past Jace and stood beside his sister. He gently placed a hand on her head, inspecting her closely. She showed him the little toy, still glowing faintly. Her smile was small but bright. The prince looked at it for a long moment. Then he turned back to Jace. Do you understand what you have done, human? Jace opened his mouth, then closed it. Apparently, he did not. The prince slowly stepped closer, lowering his voice. My sister has not smiled in years. That surprised everyone, especially Jace. She has cried, the prince said. She has fought sickness. She has suffered, but smile. He shook his head. We believed she had forgotten how. Jace's throat felt tight. I didn't know. You didn't need to know, the prince replied. You simply acted with kindness. The valley fell completely silent. Jace could feel every eye on him. The prince's next words dropped like stones. Because of this, every warrior in this army is now in your debt. Jace froze. He wasn't sure he heard that right. Even Yekara's jaw fell open. The warriors around them bowed their heads deeper, this time to him. Jace whispered, Okay, that seems like too big a reaction to a toy. But the prince wasn't done. You also healed a wound in my sister's heart. A wound no machine, no doctor, no ancient alien device could fix. His voice grew heavier. You did with a simple toy what our entire world failed to do. Jace felt uncomfortable. Not scared, just overwhelmed. He wasn't used to this level of attention, especially from an army full of massive armored aliens. The prince stepped back and raised a hand. Instantly, the warriors rose to their feet in perfect unison. Human, the prince said, I am Prince Kalos of the Varyan Dominion. Under our ancient code, when one heals a royal bloodline, that person becomes a... He paused, as if choosing the right word. Protector. Jace blinked. What? Protector, Kalos repeated. A guardian of the royal family. A rank held by less than 10 beings across the stars. Jace's voice cracked. Okay, but what does that mean? It means, Kalos said calmly, that harming you be the same as harming me. All the warriors responded instantly, slamming one fist to their armored chests in a thunderous salute. Boom! The sound echoed across the valley. Jace swallowed hard. That's wow. That's a lot. I just gave a toy. Kalos finally allowed a very small smile, barely noticeable, but real. And that, he said, is exactly why you are worthy. He turned to Yekara. Train him well. Protect him. Do not let the council interfere. The princess nodded proudly. I understand. Kalos began walking back the way he came, the army parting before him like water, before disappearing behind a line of warriors. He turned back one last time. Human, you have changed our world more than you realize. Do not waste this chance. Then he was gone. Jace let out a long breath. He didn't know he was holding. Yekara stepped beside him, smiling softly. You are a protector now. He rubbed the back of his neck. Does that come with, dental? Yekara laughed. The soldiers looked at each other, confused. They did not know what dental meant, but the warriors knew one thing. This human was now someone the galaxy would fear, and someone the royal family would defend with their lives. The academy had never been this quiet. The corridors were empty, but the tension lingered like a thick fog. Every cadet and instructor knew that the human, Evan Cole, was no longer just another student. He was someone the Vorani warriors, 500 of them, would protect at all costs. And that meant every alien in the galaxy who knew the story had started to rethink humans entirely. Evan walked beside Lyra through the training grounds, feeling the weight of hundreds of armored eyes watching him. Even the council representatives kept their distance, murmuring to each other, trying to understand what had just happened. "You really changed things," Lyra whispered. "Everyone, even the adults, they look at you differently now." Evan shook his head. "I didn't do anything special. I just gave you a toy." Lyra smiled softly. "That's exactly what makes it special." That afternoon, the Academy called an emergency assembly. Students from every species crowded the main hall, and alien officials sat at the front, whispering urgently. Evan was escorted in by a line of Varani warriors. Their presence was intimidating, but it also made him feel safe. The head of the Academy, a tall, green-skinned diplomat named Zarin, cleared his throat. "Today, we witnessed an event that may change the galaxy's perception of humans forever." Evan's stomach tightened. He had no idea what to expect. Zarin continued. "Through a simple act of kindness, Evan Cole has gained the loyalty of the Varani warriors. This is unprecedented. The Varani have never, in recorded history, pledged themselves to a human being." The room erupted in whispers. Some gasped, others whispered in disbelief. Many students secretly admired him, and some officials took notes furiously. Evan stepped forward, feeling very small. He glanced at Lyra. She gave him a reassuring nod. I just wanted to be kind," Evan said, his voice quiet but steady. "I didn't think it would. I didn't expect any of this. I only wanted her to feel happy for a moment." A hush fell over the hall. For a moment, even the officials seemed speechless. Then Zarin nodded slowly. "Kindness is a power that humans often underestimate," he said. "Your actions remind us that strength is not only in weapons, strategy, or brute force. It can also be in empathy, in compassion, in small choices that show respect and care." The council murmured in agreement. The word spread across the galaxy through hollow feeds and transmissions. Soon, humans were no longer seen as weak. Instead, they were regarded as clever, brave, and capable of touching even the hearts of the most feared warriors. Later that evening, Evan trained in the Academy gym, supervised by the Ros and several other Varani warriors. Lyra was nearby, practicing basic combat techniques with careful guidance. The humans and aliens had formed a strange harmony. While Evan was physically weaker, he moved with quick thinking, dodging and anticipating attacks, impressing the Varani with strategies they had never expected from a human. "You are faster than most cadets," the Ros commented, his voice calm but proud. "But more importantly, your mind adapts. That is the true power of your species." Evan wiped the sweat from his forehead. "I just think fast when things get dangerous. It's nothing special." The Ros shook his massive head. "It is special, and it is why you survived the Kroth attack. Never forget it." The news spread quickly. Across the galaxy, the Kroth Dominion was furious. They had underestimated humans. They had thought controlling a human would be easy. Now, their spies reported that the human had the loyalty of the most feared warriors in the galaxy, and worse, he had begun to influence alien leaders with his simple acts of kindness. Meanwhile, Lyra and Evan spent quiet moments together, talking about life, hopes, and dreams. Lyra finally laughed openly, her silver lines glowing brighter than ever. Evan realized that the small gestures, the tiny toy, had started a chain reaction that went far beyond him or even the Academy. It had changed the way the galaxy thought about humans. "You did all this," Lyra said softly, looking at him, "and you barely even tried." Evan shrugged. "I guess sometimes it's not about trying, it's about caring." Lyra smiled. "Humans, maybe you're stronger than we thought." Evan chuckled. "Stronger, huh? I'll take that." By the end of the week, the Academy Council held a special ceremony. Varani warriors formally pledged their loyalty to Evan in front of all species, creating a historic alliance. Ambassadors shook his hand, and cadets from other species came to observe, fascinated by this human who had done what no alien had thought possible. Evan gave a short speech. "I didn't do this for power. I didn't do it to be famous. I only want to be kind and to treat someone with respect. Maybe that's what humans can offer the galaxy. Not our weapons, but our heart." The council was impressed. Other species began discussing trade agreements, alliances, and collaborations with humans based on this new perception. Evan's simple action, a wooden toy given in kindness, had sparked a ripple effect that changed political landscapes, military perceptions, and cultural views. For the first time in his life, Evan felt proud, not because of the attention or the warriors or the titles, but because a small act of kindness had changed the galaxy forever. And in one quiet moment, Lyra came up to him, holding the little wooden toy. She smiled and whispered, "Thank you for seeing me." Evan smiled back. "I should be the one thanking you." The galaxy had learned something important. Strength is not just in power, it is in the heart, and a human had reminded everyone of that. The Academy had never been quieter or more alive at the same time. Outside, ships glided across the sky in formation, scanning for threats. Inside, students whispered and watched Evan wherever he went. He had become a symbol not of fear, but of hope. Lyra walked beside him, her silver lines glowing faintly. She had changed, too. Her laughter came easily now, her eyes bright, and her shoulders no longer carried the weight of isolation. Evan smiled. He realized that the small toy he had given her had started something far bigger than he could have imagined. Suddenly, Thoreau stepped forward. His massive figure blocked the sunlight streaming through the hall. "Honored Protector," he said in his deep, rumbling voice, "the Croth Dominion may attempt retaliation. We must prepare the Academy and the Alliance for their next move." Evan swallowed, feeling a nervous flutter in his chest. I'm not a fighter." "You are more than a fighter," Thoreau said firmly. "You are the reason the galaxy is reconsidering humans. That is power in itself." Across the Academy, ambassadors from various alien races had arrived. Some were wary, some were curious, and all were here to witness the unprecedented alliance forming around Human Child and the Varani warriors. One of the ambassadors, a slender silver-skinned diplomat named Vera, approached Evan cautiously. "I must admit," she said, "we doubted your species, but your actions, they have inspired respect. The Varani are not given lightly to anyone, and yet here they are." Evan shrugged. "I didn't do anything special. I just cared." Vera smiled. "Caring is more powerful than most understand. Perhaps it is humans who will teach the galaxy something new." That evening, the Academy's courtyard was filled with Varani warriors standing at attention. Evan and Lyra walked to the center, surrounded by hundreds of alien eyes. Thoreau stepped beside them. "Today," Thoreau began, "we honor a bond forged in kindness, not fear. A bond that has united species and reshaped the way we see one another. This human has reminded us that the smallest gestures can change the hearts of even the most hardened warriors." Evan looked around. The Varani warriors were nodding, their silver eyes shining under the moonlight. He realized that they were not just protecting him. They were defending a new idea, that humans could inspire courage, loyalty, and hope without lifting a weapon. Lyra stepped forward, holding the wooden toy. "This," she said softly, "was the first gift anyone ever gave me, and it changed everything. Because of it, I am not alone anymore, and neither is he." The crowd fell silent. Every student, ambassador, and warrior understood the meaning behind her words. Evan's heart felt full. He had never imagined that such a simple action could have such an impact, but now he saw it clearly. Kindness could ripple across worlds, uniting even the most unlikely allies. Suddenly, a distant warning siren echoed through the Academy. Drones hovered at the edge of the sky, signaling the Croth Dominion. Their fleets were approaching fast. Thoreau turned to Evan. "Honored Protector, this is a test. Will you command us?" Evan hesitated. Then he spoke, calmly but firmly. "We don't fight to hurt others. We fight to protect those who cannot protect themselves. That is our purpose. Not vengeance, not power, just protection." The warriors straightened. The ambassadors nodded in approval. Even the Croth fleets, observing from afar, felt the weight of the statement. The Croth knew that attacking now would mean facing a united front. Humans, Varani, and every ally inspired by the bond Evan had forged. The Dominion paused, reconsidering their strategy. Evan turned to Lyra. We've done something incredible together. She smiled. Yes, and it all started with a toy. Duros knelt and bowed his massive head. You have changed the galaxy, human, not with weapons, but with your heart. That is the true mark of a hero. For the first time, Evan felt a deep sense of peace. He had not wanted power, recognition, or war. He had only wanted to be kind. Yet, in doing so, he had united alien species, inspired warriors, and even challenged across Dominion without firing a single shot. From that night forward, the Academy became a symbol of hope. Stories of the human who gave a toy to a lonely alien girl spread across star systems. Children whispered them in classrooms. Leaders debated them in council chambers. Warriors honored them in their rituals. And somewhere in the galaxy, Lyra and Evan stood together, surrounded by hundreds of loyal warriors and a growing alliance of species, knowing that the bond they created would shape the galaxy for generations to come. The galaxy had learned something important. Kindness could be the strongest weapon of all. And Evan, he had learned something too, that one small act of compassion could echo across worlds, and that even a human could inspire legends. The stars above shone brighter that night, as if the galaxy itself was applauding a boy who had given a toy and changed everything. White heavy checkmarked the end. Moral of the story: even the smallest acts of kindness can create powerful ripples. True strength is not just in weapons or force, but in compassion, empathy, and caring for others. One person's genuine care can inspire loyalty, unite others, and change the world in ways no one expects.